Fox News alert: Donald Trump indicted for the third time. How will this affect his 2024 run for president? On the Republican side, his numbers keep going out. Here to react to our political panel, Washington Examiner Deputy Editor Kayleigh McGee is here, along with former Congressman, a good friend of ours from Georgia, Congressman Doug Collins, and Monica Crowley, former Assistant Treasury Secretary under former President Donald Trump. Monica, start with you. Do you believe this is exactly what Democrats want? Not only do they want Donald Trump the center of attention, they want to make sure he's an opponent, and that's what these indictments are about.
I think that's probably the calculation on the Democratic
side. Are they right to want that?
That they know that there's going to be a huge rallying effect, as we've already seen, around former President Trump by the Republican base, but also by independents and some disaffected Democrats who voted for him in 2016 and again in 2020. So I would say to our Democratic friends, be careful what you wish for, because Donald Trump is not your run-of-the-mill standard politician or leader. He is a completely unique figure in American politics that drives tremendous emotional response from people, both hatred and love. So for the Democrats who are playing this game thinking we want him to be the nominee because he's more easily beatable, be careful what you wish for. You're playing with fire.
Kayleigh, the one thing is the Siena poll, New York Times poll, whatever you think of polls, they show a trend. And it's a dead heat. So maybe he's up one or up two if the other smaller polls. It doesn't matter. With all, there's still a dead heat.
Yeah, and I also wonder if part of it is to drown Trump's campaign in distractions and debt so that he can't focus solely on campaigning. There was a report earlier this week that Trump's campaign has had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight these legal battles. That's a serious handicap for his campaign. Now, I think that the most alarming part of this indictment is that Democrats and Jack Smith are essentially trying to use the criminal code to punish political behavior, right? The Constitution is very clear that Congress, through our elected representatives, has the sole responsibility of holding the executive to account.
They impeached him.
They had multiple opportunities to do this through various impeachments, through the January 6th Congressional Committee, which, by the way, did not turn up anything in the way of criminal conduct. And so now they're trying to make up for this by using the criminal code. But criminal conduct is very specific, and it has to be applied specifically to narrow statutes that prosecutors have to prove were violated beyond a reasonable doubt. And here the facts just don't match the statutes.
So when you talk about numbers, his joint fundraising committee reported raising $53 million. Almost all of it has been spent on legal fees, Doug. And I don't think people are that upset anymore because they think that he is being unfairly targeted.
Well, they do. And I love what was said here earlier. They think they're going to distract Donald Trump. I mean, have you ever sat 5 minutes with a man? He can do 5 or 6 things all at one time, and it's just who he is. He's always been. So this distraction, I think there's a bigger sort of background noise here. And that is not just that they're trying to tie
more
Trump
than our
up.
Current background noise?
More than the cards in the ambulances. But when they come out, they notice that Jack Smith in these indictments are coming at the same next day, typically, after a Hunter Biden episode. And so I think it's not just that they don't like Donald Trump. It's also that they're trying to deflect from the fact that they are having to answer hard questions now because Joe Biden was in the meetings. Joe Biden heard it. And I'm sorry, all these people say they were talking about the weather. It was not about the weather, folks. Don't look at the shiny object. It was about the fact that Hunter Biden, who had no experience in anything, could pick up a phone and say, "Dad." Hi, Dad. That's all he had to have.
And they're basically indicting Donald Trump for Joe Biden's crimes. They have thrown the kitchen sink at Donald Trump for the last 7 or 8 years since he came down that escalator at Trump Tower. They've tried to stop him and destroy him. Why? Because he is an existential threat to the entire corrupt status quo and ruling class. They've got to stop him. This is just the latest chapter of this, but I've never seen anybody survive what Donald Trump has survived. So don't underestimate him. The guy's going to survive this as well.
One last real quick point. What does the rest of the field do? They're all forced to comment not on what they want, but on what Donald Trump is facing.
Right, and it's a difficult balance because obviously they're trying to unseat him for the primary candidacy. But here's the thing. Democrats have opened this Pandora's box, and it's not closing. So GOP candidates need to understand that if they can do this to Donald Trump multiple times, they will do it to the next Republican candidate. All of their names are on the list at this point.
Brian, they ought to be very concerned about something. You brought up the numbers a minute ago. There's a thing called hard reelect. That means that you're asking somebody, will they vote for somebody no matter who else is on the ballot? And the hard reelect number seems to be going up for Donald Trump. That should concern if you were another candidate, you say, what am I doing wrong?
And Kayleigh, to your point, the way they go after DeSantis viciously, that shows you that it's not going to stop whether Trump wins or loses.
Exactly.
Thanks, guys. Great to see you.
Thank you.